Oh, cool. The Forsaken patch just dropped. Let's see here. It looks like they finally nerfed Cool Kid. They buffed John Doe. Wait. They did what to his passive? Okay, you've seen the title. Today's video is all about our favorite 100-star difficulty killer, John Doe. I want to dedicate this video to talk about the current state of him, how underpowered he is compared to the other killers, and how I'd personally fix him. There's also a small pet peeve I'd like to bring up considering how many people like to justify this change and why it doesn't make any sense. Remember to like and subscribe as always if you enjoy this video. And now, without further ado, let's begin. John Doe has many different main abilities, so let's start with his most simple one. His Slash. It's the highest damaging M1 in the game, dealing 28 damage, but it's also the one with the longest windups and second longest cooldown, clocking in at 1.75 seconds. Comparing this to other killers, this is pretty bad, especially when guests can literally react to your windup and stun you instead of needing to predict you like they do with other killers. Corrupt Energy. John Doe sticks his arms in the ground, and if the move is pulled off, it summons 26 spikes exactly towards the way you're facing, which can be used to either do damage, up to 48, while giving a 5-second speed boost or to cut off paths. This sounds good on paper, right? Well, it is. Which is what I would say if his Corrupt Energy actually cut them off. It's always 1 or 2 spikes short of completely stopping them in their tracks. But nope, they'll just slip between that small little crack, forcing you to go down a tiny path just to catch him. Originally, Corrupt Energy had 28 spikes rather than 26, which makes this issue even more frustrating. Corrupt Energy also has a longer windup than Mass Infection, making Corrupt Energy extremely punishable by basically any Sentinel in the game. But, to be fair, the new changes to his passives make this seem somewhat intentional. Digital Footprint. John Doe is mad and he's stomping his foot. He leaves a black puddle on the ground that if the survivors step in it, it'll give them Corrupted 2 and Slowness 2 for 15 seconds. It gives John Speed 1 for 10 seconds. The survivor is highlighted to John, but John is also highlighted to the survivor. Even if John Doe is far away, this usually allows him to kill a survivor in close proximity to him, to the point where it's almost guaranteed. This is by far his best move. And usually, most of the time, John doesn't even need to try to trick the survivors to go into his traps. Usually selfish survivors such as 007 triggers the traps with his clones. Congrats 007, your clone just killed a man right now. How do you feel? I really don't have any issues with this move, so let's just move on. Arrow 404. It's literally just a basic highlight move that drastically slows John down to a crawl before showing everyone on the map. There isn't really anything special about it. Let me quickly explain the first passive and then move on to the next. Natural Malevolence. Remember that corrupt trail John leaves behind when he walks? Yeah, it gives you Corrupt 1 for 2 seconds if you step on it. It's a bit useful for chip damage, but it's nothing really interesting. And Unstoppable. This is what we really need to talk about. Originally, John Doe's Unstoppable ability made it so that no matter what stun he was hit by, he'd only be able to be stunned for around 2 seconds. This discouraged people who played Sentinels, survivors that can stun, from stunning the killer unless it was absolutely necessary. This honestly made John Doe seem like a much bigger threat to stun compared to other killers, as if you stunned at the wrong time as a Sentinel, it could be really bad for you. This was balanced out by the fact that John Doe has no outright punish move outside of his Slash. Cool Kid has Walk Speed Override, Jason has Gashing Wound, and 1x1x1 has Mass Infection. John Doe has none of these, which is why it was balanced. However, the issue with Unstoppable itself is that it made playing as a Sentinel extremely frustrating. If you were getting targeted by a John Doe player, even if they were bad, you'd still end up dying due to the sheer damage of the M1 and Unstoppable stopping you from being able to gain any distance. I agree, this ability definitely needed a rework. So, let's see what Forsaken did about it. How Forsaken approached fixing Unstoppable was, to be blunt, not that great. So, here's what they changed. They made John Doe's Unstoppable only apply when Error 404, his garbage aura reading ability, is being used, or when Corrupt Energy is being used. This, on paper, does not sound that bad. This makes people less likely to try and stun Doe when he's using his abilities, allowing John Doe to use his spikes more often and have more of a presence in his matches. However, the trade-off is that John Doe can be normally stunned. Now, this is not a good change, and here's why. All the other killers in the roster have catch-up moves. Jason is a melee killer, so he can catch up by just running since he has a fast speed and raging pacing. Cool Kid has his projectile and his minions as well as his walk speed, especially with him also being a fast killer. And 1X is just able to use entanglement or mass infection as he's a zoner character. John Doe has none of this. So when he gets stunned, the only thing he can do is attempt to spike. And 99% of the time, that's the most predictable thing a John can do. So the survivors can just juke out of the way. John Doe is also the second slowest killer in the game, so it's pretty hard for him to catch up by just running towards the survivors, especially if they know how to manage their stamina. What the Forsaken team should have done is make one of these changes. A. Make John Doe get a speed boost if he gets stunned, but only use the stun reduction when Corrupt Energy and Error 404 is used. This makes getting back into the chase fairer for John Doe, and to allow for the stunner to reset the chase position. B. Make John Doe have the stun reduction, but don't give him the speed unless he gets hit while using Corrupt Energy or Error 404. In my opinion, these changes would make John Doe less frustrating to play against, but also more enjoyable to play as. As John Doe is a trapper character, this punishes him for running right at Sentinels instead of avoiding stuns and playing properly, but also makes it so that Sentinel stun stacking nerfs still apply. Try saying that 3 times. It allows him to keep the speed increase he gets per Sentinel in the lobby, and John Doe will be used a lot more along with the rest of the killer roster. This isn't the only factor affecting John Doe, however, and this is a fundamental flaw with how he's designed. Now, let's talk about the maps in no particular order and see how John does on this map. Good pun, right? Right?
Oh, you stink!
Cool Carnival is definitely one of John Doe's better maps, with many choke points in the areas of the map and a nice open middle area to hit some corrupt energies. Not to mention the amount of places you can wall off with the spikes, leaving the survivors at your mercy. Brandon's place is also up there, with the amount of elevation on the map leaving it a bit harder to notice digital footprints. The castle areas are also very susceptible to being walled off when survivors try to escape your advances. It's a similar story with glass houses, just with slightly less places to use corrupt energy to wall off places, but more places to snag some damage with it. Horror Hotel is a mixed bag in my opinion, but it's not too detrimental. There's definitely a lot of places to use digital footprint and corrupt nature to wall people off, but you're gonna be quick to lose track of survivors if you're using corrupt energy for damage, and you might even seal yourself off from doing any extra damage when you block yourself off with passages. Yorick's resting place has a bunch of choke points for digital footprints, but walling off areas is a bit more tricky, as well as hitting the corrupt energy itself. While it's not hard to hit, it feels less intuitive compared to some less open maps. Ultimate Assassin's Grounds is pretty open, so it's a bit more difficult to use digital footprint efficiently, but the houses and caves are definitely not bad places. But corrupt energy definitely shines on this map with how close together everything is, comparatively speaking. A corrupt energy in a straight line goes almost halfway across the map. Sniping damage is kind of your best bet. Underground wall seems like a lost cause for John, but if you manage to seal off entrances to the underground section at your earliest possibility, it's a lot easier to rack up damage and get speed buffs, while also giving John the chance to use corrupt energy above ground behind walls while using Arrow 404 to aim at them. You just gotta hope you're not a voice acted skin, otherwise you'll get figured out. Pirate Bay is tough to close off with digital footprints and corrupt energy, but it's definitely a good map to hit corrupt energies. But you'll be relying on your M1 quite a bit to finish people off. And of course, how could I forget Planet Boss, unarguably John's worst map. You're going to have to change your whole game plan with John Doe here, and play as aggressively as possible. While before the nerf, this would have been plausible, the nerf made his chases a lot more predictable, especially when guests are around, making him the best sentinel to deal with John. He's using corrupt energy, charge so his aim is off. He's punching, block it since you can read him like a book. Digital footprinting, look into his eyes like he's a moron. Stand right in front of John Doe when he uses corrupt energy, and it will save your life. In conclusion, John Doe has a lot of flaws as a killer, from being map dependent to him constantly getting unnecessary nerfs, but I can't lie, I'm not going to stop playing him because I can use the yourself skin to make a Dollar Tree Russia's cosplay. Like, look at this peeve. Anyways, that being said, the video is over now. I'm gonna go get some sleep. I've been grinding John Doe just for this video. I'm milestone 4 with him already, but I kinda wanna keep playing with him just to get more kills as Russia's John Doe. That's it, bye bye.